It's true that some things change as we get older. But if you're a woman over 40 and you're dealing with insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, and weight gain, you don't have to accept it as just another part of aging. And with MIDI Health, you can get help and stop pushing through it alone. The experts at MIDI understand that all these symptoms can be connected to the hormonal changes that happen around menopause, and MIDI can help you feel more like yourself again. Many healthcare providers aren't trained to treat or even recognize menopause symptoms. MIDI clinicians are menopause experts. They're dedicated to providing safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions for dozens of hormonal symptoms, not just hot flashes. Most importantly, they're covered by insurance. 91% of MIDI patients get relief from symptoms within just 2 months. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
This is your before and after story. Southeastern College can help you prepare for a secure and fulfilling career in the growing healthcare field. We offer a wide range of careers to choose from. So whether you want to be a medical assistant, medical billing and coding specialist, nurse, surgical technologist, or another healthcare career, we've got you covered. Become a vital part of a healthcare team and make a real difference. Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sec.edu to get started.
Welcome to Critical Hit, a Major Spoilers podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and checking us out this week. Kevin, what you got planned?
Well, before we get into what's coming up, I think we should review what happened last time.
On Critical Hit, I think we upgraded our characters.
Yes. That is what we did. So we took a session and you guys upgraded your characters. You leveled up and made a few changes because when we last saw the crew of the Squeaky Clean
on Critical Hit,
you guys had flown from an area I call devouring space next to the Blood Door, a supermassive black hole surrounded by forces of the Cult of the Devourer, which is where Rain felt it appropriate to hide her little hidden capsule by a dwarven beer icon floating in the middle of nowhere. It does seem unlikely that this was tampered with by the forces of Abadar Corp. And so you guys had gathered that after going on a epic drifting quest with the dwarves, Brenson, Sirius, and Duthane, and as well as Amsala and her colleague Sontanax, the Kasatha. And you guys had unfurled a chaos sail as an alternative method of getting out of Dodge when fleeing the Cult of the Devourer, and it took you where you needed to go, which is back into Pact World space, somewhere not too far from Absalom Station, and you are shiny and new, having emerged slightly different than you were before. Like, you have total continuity of memory and experience, but there are little tweaks. So actually,
strength is now 27.
Why don't we go around and just say real quick something that changed about your character, and it doesn't have to be something mechanical. In fact, I'd rather it wasn't, because that's boring. Let's just say, like, oh, I look like this, or I, some other little thing that changed. Starting with Vangie.
Vangie just seems to be a lot more confident, and like a little bit, she's how do you even describe this? Like like she's actually like a little bit clumsier now, but seems to like still be making that up for it by like moving around the ship. Like she knows the place a little bit better, and like tinkering around with things like tightening screws and getting it, trying to repair all the damage, while also like carrying around a data pad in her tail, and keeping track on like what the latest buzz is on drifters.
Amu.
Amu has got a few different new tinctures and whatnot hanging off of their shell. Basically more variety to what they have available to throw to allies, as well as looking slightly more solid, intact, like less like ready to fall apart when stretched out.
A little beefier. Okay.
Stretch Armstrongier.
Bob.
Bob is sporting a scar right down his face across his eye, and he's got a monocle, so you know that he can see even better and pilot this ship even faster.
Wait, a monocle on the scarred eye or the other?
Yes, a monocle on the scarred eye. And then he also has a really cool beard and mustache going now too. And he just looks like he's in complete control of this ship and can take care of it top to bottom. And if you mess with his ship, he can shoot you from a distance.
He still has the beret, right?
He still does have the beret.
Awesome.
Course.
It's like the evil Bob from the Mirror Universe.
Or, the
Are we
William
talking like
Riker
a goatee
clone.
or like a full beard?
No, it's a full-on William Riker Tim. What was his clone guy's name? Tim?
Tom.
That's who it is. Yeah, Tom Riker.
Great. So you've grown the beard.
Yes. Now his last name has been changed to Middleman.
Quentin.
Quentin doesn't look particularly different, but when he's moving about the ship doing his usual floaty bits, you see like the shell moving around and the outer bits kind of opening and arms coming in and out. And if you look closely, the outer shell of his spheroid form looks like it's not quite as thick. Previously, it looked like, kind of a layer of armored quadra titanium. And now it looks not quite translucent, but still kind of a little bit shiny, like it's almost made of some sort of transparent aluminum or something of that nature. So if you pay attention, he's a little bit sparkly at certain times. But he also looks like he can't quite take the same number of hits that he did, because maybe this isn't quite as tough of a shell.
You're always sparkly in my mind, Quentin.
Well,
Skritic.
Skritic is a little bit taller. Just like an inch or two.
Did you have your legs broken?
Maybe he just stands up a bit straighter.
He spiked his hair up a little bit. He's got like a faux hawk that makes him look.
Yes. And for the most part, Skritic isn't a lot different, other than maybe a fascination to some void angels, but he does seem to move about and have a bit more confidence and familiarity with various systems and controls of the ship.
Awesome. And last but not least, Team Co-Captain Hecubino.
Hecubino, probably the main change with him is that he wears his power a lot more obviously now. Sometimes when he's thinking about something or analyzing something, his iris and pupil will fade away, so his eyes will just turn completely white. Also, his eyebrows come up to a point at the end. They have a little curly, because that's what psychics have.
It looks like a Vulcan.
Yep.
Got kind of a little lightning bolt that looks like it, just right down the side of his temple, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Now, remind me, does Hecubino have a widow's peak?
He's bald.
He's bald, so
okay.
I don't know that we know. I don't know that we've established it, but I guess he probably would. Although I've always seen him as having kind of like a loose afro when he grows his hair. So I don't know how widow speak factors in with that.
I don't know.
Yeah, the main honestly, we don't have the RAM to run Hecavina's hair simulation, so we've just kept them bald this whole time.
Yeah, hashtag bald by choice.
Yeah. Lastly, he is going to change his and maybe we can describe this in more detail later, but he's going to change his makeup so that when he's getting ready to go, instead of painting on the two purple stars that Vangi has, he's going to paint one purple star at the center of his forehead and then basically draw a triangle to his other two eyes and fill all that in with black since they're heels now.
Nice.
Great. Yeah, you guys will have a full makeup scene, but not just yet. But that is good to know. So you are, in Pack World space. You're aboard the Squeaky Clean. You have, it seems like, just days before you're likely going to be called up by Extreme Infosphere Productions and Eon Souljet to go into this season's final Drifters race and finale. So you have Rain's capsule. You have a little bit of a beat up ship at the moment. What do you do?
Well, I'm going to start repairs on the ship.
Well, we were going to head back to the android abolitionist front because we were going to repair the ship there, and I think that we're processing the information we had gotten so see if they got anything on it.
All right. So you can make way. Oh, yeah. And Brenson, Sirius, and Duthane, and Amsala, and Sontanex are here as well, because they also emerged from the Chaos Portal sale thing that you did. So you guys can make your way back to the Diaspora, and specifically back to Chainbreaker 1. Just cutting ahead to that briefly, when you do get signaled into Chainbreaker 1, it is now all but rote. They're like, they scramble your signals and stuff like that. But you're pretty sure at this point, Bob, you could find the asteroid if you really tried.
Oh, yeah.
So, so you guys will, be approaching that soon if you want. That with the illusory asteroid, where you can make a decent bit of repairs on your own, Bob, but if you want to do good, it'll be faster and easier in port than it is just in space.
I'll make any necessary repairs from any damage, immediate critical damage that happened when we took damage inside the whatever that zone was.
Devouring space.
Yeah, the devouring space. I keep thinking Azathoth every time you say that, so it's like
sure.
So yeah, I'll do any of those kinds of things, but then we'll get a super hyper tune once we get back to Chainbreaker 1.
Okay.
And we did install the sail thingy, yeah?
You did.
Okay.
So you still have that, though you probably need to furl it back up at this point. It can still be you can still use it again. It's just you probably
too much for it.
Well, we don't want that to be there while we're navigating an asteroid field.
Right.
And get little holes in it.
I retract the sail.
Actually manual. It's on one of those little pulleys. Right? No, it is not.
One of those double cranks. You know what I'm talking about?
One hand for the boat, one hand for yourself.
I mean,
cool. So we can cut to Chainbreaker 1 if you guys want,
Well,
or you can resolve stuff on board first.
yeah, I mean, why don't we
I leave
go
that up
into
to you.
like the holographic amusement chamber and start spreading out the brains capsule and see what we got.
So, as I previously mentioned, it looks like a conspiracy board was shoved in here, taken down off the wall, and unceremoniously tossed in. So there's a bunch of printed out articles. It seems like Rain, printing stuff out is relatively rare in this world and probably fairly expensive. Because why would you do that when you can just have everything as a hologram or on your data pad? But Rain clearly didn't trust that. And you can see, like from some of her handwritten notes, that she believes she had good reason not to, of basically the digital past being edited on files. So like things that should have been accessible, and they got changed with no update and no means of reverting it. So she quickly started relying on hard copies, which is kind of antiquated and retro, we'll say. But you can put those up against the wall, and then you can use like the holographic amusement chamber to depict whatever you want, or maybe just at the very least little holographic strings connecting the dots. So as you start putting up the information from the capsule, it definitely seems like her primary focus was the death of these other drifters teams, and that goes back. People have been dying in drifters. It's a dangerous game for sure, and it's got 27 seasons, and it's not. It originally kind of pitched itself as authentic and it's a deadly profession, but we're right there next to them, just watching them do it. But there is definitely a point about 12 years ago where it takes a turn, and you can see that the coverage, sometimes she had no choice but to include like video clips and stuff like that. And so you can play some of those, which are a little tough to watch, although you may have seen some of the coverage before from actually watching drifters. But there's definitely a marked tone shift where it becomes kind of like hockey with the fights, where it's like, oh yeah, no, that's just part of the game. That's part of the show, is the explosions that kill people.
How does that track against the data that we stole from Extreme Infosphere?
Yeah. So you'll start like kind of putting everything up on the board, and then you can start connecting the pieces with some of the extra information you guys have. So it looks like there have been 15 teams that Rain identified as dying in particularly suspicious ways over those 12 years. So at this point, why don't you guys ask me questions and see, because it's a little hard. She was clearly drawing inferences, and she's got some pieces of information about all of them, but to connect the dots, you might need to kind of ask the right questions and then see where the information takes you. So any questions you guys come up with, ask them, and we'll see what the information shows you.
All right. I mean,
so 15 over 12 years, right? So that's multiple deaths in a season. We've already seen the one death this season when we accidentally blew up the other team. Yep. Is there any indication of what is a trigger to make somebody a target to die, a team a target to die?
Mhm. Like, is there any correlation in advertisers or backing?
Yeah. Or are they all like darlings in some degree?
Yeah.
So there are a couple of themes there that you can. Those of you with like more of a kind of like a narrative bent might notice this first by going through it, because you can even go through some of the promotional material that you have from Extreme Infosphere Productions. Because you guys remember that you freaking broke in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was, the stuff that was like under super duper security.
Yeah. So it seems like one of the themes is, for some reason, I come up with the word ingenue. That's not what I mean, but like the plucky, naive do-gooders who die.
Oh, no, I'm a target.
The baby faces.
The baby faces who die tragically to prove the situation serious. That's one. Another one is like a popular but not mainstream group. Like I'm trying to come up with, like, when they have a particularly like motivated fan base, but are not kind of mainstream popular, like the cult hit people. Those they sometimes let run a few seasons, but they never let them go on too long. And then there are a couple in the early seasons that are a little bit more suspicious. It seems like maybe they were just getting their groove on whatever they were doing. But there seems to have been at least one kind of false start where they seem to like change their mind midway through the season and had to basically write them off the show.
They as in Extreme Infosphere, or they as in the drifters?
Where Extreme Infosphere wrote a team, like it seemed like they were going to have a big arc and be at least, the new hotness, and they were not just baby faces. They seemed to have like legitimate good guy arcs, kind of a little bit more, they were doing more interviews, getting good press coverage, being set up with powerful sponsors, those sorts of things. And then something happened, and they were quickly and suddenly written off the show. And died. By written off the show, I mean killed on the show, and then they had to clean up the narrative arcs afterwards.
They ticked off Vince McMahon, and they got written off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got them on
and killed.
So does that answer that question?
Yeah. What's the? Can we tell? I guess how do at what point Eon Souljet becomes like more involved in drifters?
So Eon Souljet's name is not on a lot of this material. He seems fairly distant, which isn't true, just from watching him. But his corporate shell game foo is pretty strong. Without using the virus, the kind of sentient virus that the Android Abolitionist Front made and you guys installed on this stuff, it's unclear that you guys can kind of pierce his particular veil of secrecy, but things do date back basically 12 years.
Fun.
Is there, can we determine if drifters also becoming sort of superstars that go on to have like other shows and sponsorships and stuff, does that also start around the same time?
Well, so that actually started before it. But that was more of the Renegades. Essentially, Renegades was the first team that ever became superstars from Drifters, and then the model of turning it into a platform to launch people into superstardom deliberately, that started about 12 years ago too.
And how does the I guess viewership and profits seem to increase once that happens?
Oh, it's a successful strategy. It seems like it was, it was doing okay. It's totally fine, but probably a little niche for a lot of people's tastes. For over a decade, but then it pivoted. If I were to compare it, the first three or four Fast and the Furious movies were about cars, and then they stopped being about cars. At one point, Drifters stops being about cars, and it becomes just a mega franchise tentpole. And again, that's 12 years ago, and it's not like overnight, but clearly a new corporate strategy was put in place, and it's quite successful.
Can we check if either how many of these teams, or if these, or maybe among all teams, if we have that information or could find that information, basically how many of these teams have a Quentin or proto-Quentin along for recording?
No one's like Quentin. Yeah, they definitely seem to have started. You suspect, and this comes directly out of Rain's notes because she has been hunting people down. For instance, Warp was on her. That is to say, I think her name was Zem. Zem the Witch Warper.
Mm-hmm.
She was on Rain's question mark list. So it's not necessarily that they're always an android, whose job is to be the social media liaison and camera person. But she is definitely dubious of several members of affected teams where it's like bodies were never recovered, or she's hired people to look into them and found she thinks that they're hiding out in a planet in the Veskarium Empire, stuff like that. So it's certainly not unique to have a traitor.
With the popularity of Drifters, surely there had to be some competition to do the same thing. So was there, is there any conspiracy that we can see about Drifters Federation or Drifters Raw or anything like that?
Copycats.
Yeah. So that is covered in detail in the corporate information you've stolen. And there are, it seems like they pursued an aggressive corporate strategy of buying things out. And then there are a number of loose, how do I want to put this? The amount of data present is woefully inadequate for the what is typical in these write-ups. These are people who love them, their TPS reports. But then there are sometimes some inquiries where and then they this program stopped being a competitor and everything's fine. So Rain didn't have access to that information, so you don't know what's up with it, but you could certainly research that on your own just using the infosphere.
Oh, that sounds like a job for Quentin.
I'll do that.
All right. So the information is these people were murdered, just straight up assassinated. And you've actually come across some. This is interesting. There were some case files where, oh, hey, this does link back into the corporate files, just not in a way you were expecting. It looks like there was an internal audit performed by an inquisitor of Abadar into, one of these deaths. And then that inquisitor of Abadar also went missing.
Jeez.
Covering their tracks.
Weird. It shows that he drowned on the desert planet.
Just fell out a window.
Why didn't he have his parachute on when he jumped out of that
into
plane?
space? Yep.
That's very odd. Generally, when you fall out a window, you go down.
Now that you see that, Quentin, an idea pops into your head to analyze the corporate data using a slightly different dimension. And you punch it in. Oh boy. Yeah. When you slice the data like that, you can see you start looking into hirings and firings and correlating those with disappearances. And there is an internal corporate battlefield hidden in these records of the controlling interest of Extreme Infosphere Productions, going back into Abadar Corp, and basically you can tell that there were at least two sides in terms of the path of control here, and the people who are now in control, which you were confident are all Eon Soljet lackeys and puppets. All of those people, like you can see, like there's been a systematic effort to put his people in places of control, not just for Drifters or Extreme Infosphere Productions, but in a lot of like these key marketing, social media, everything having to do with the Infosphere, kind of messaging level positions within the Church of Abadar / Abadar Corp itself. And while there's nothing as cut and dry as the murders that Rain is investigating, you do uncover several other fairly suspicious cases of, this notable preacher who, she was pitching a very different kind of Abadar worship, and her mission got, and she was like, decrying Abadar, the tendency of some within the church to focus on greed as opposed to societal good. And wouldn't you know it, like her planet got hit by a stray, stray meteor, alien raid, and everyone died. And it's like, was that an assassination? Officially no, but it does seem like Eon Soljet's enemies have a tendency to either get bought out, retire, and get out of the game, or die.
Fun.
Sometimes in that order.
Can we find basically any? So, like the way what's her name, Zem, died was pretty spectacular. Can we find any like kind of reports of like other basically like infernal implosions?
Yes, you can. It's happened only like 2 other times that you can find, but it has happened before. Hey, one of those lines up very neatly with the previous team that got written off.
Oh, someone broke a deal?
That seems like a reasonable inference.
Cool.
Yes.
How long has Team Electrum been on its winning streak?
Team Electrum has been on its winning streak for 8 years.
Interesting. Who was the winner the year before them?
I don't know.
If it doesn't matter,
I don't have a good
I'm just
name.
Curious if they like. what their deal was, even like why, like, because clearly some strategy changes within the span of kind of Souljet supremacy that those guys took over.
Again, it looks like maybe the first they're now that you see it, you can actually see that some of the arcs that were written for that first Team Electrum actually goes through it in there, but they go through them a little changed, a little better, and
it's like maybe the first, maybe the first few times, maybe the first few seasons after the changeover, they were trying to have different teams win.
Mm-hmm.
And finally they were like, if we just have a team that always wins, then that we only have to focus on that team. Like, we don't have to do all these rewrites for, just because we want some other team to win, up until they piss us off anyway.
Especially if they're a proven team player.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Cool. How do the sponsors change over time?
I mean, as it gets bigger, more sponsorship money keeps getting poured in. Obviously, 12 years is a long time, so the whole, like, there are products that are pitched now that didn't even exist back then.
Yeah,
but
how many of those new sponsors are owned by Ian Souljet or one of his subsidiaries? I think we got a money laundering scheme going on.
Ooh.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. You'd think, like, why is all this even necessary? But it seems like whoever designed this kind of couldn't help themselves, in that, like, it's maybe penny wise, pound foolish, that kind of thing, except we're dealing in, hundreds of millions of credits, where it's like, yep, and you're absolutely right. There are a bunch of, basically, again, if you run that faction analysis that Quentin was doing, it seems like a lot of the Souljet faction companies kind of pumped this brand full of money to begin with, and have maintained, like, it's a weird symbiosis where those brands pump money into this show, which kind of, it can use all that money to pump its ratings, and then they do favors for all those brands.
You mentioned that Rain thought that the kind of record was being tampered with. Does she have any, like, specific notes that we can effectively cross-reference with the records we stole to see, like, the edited versions?
Yeah. Yep. So again, it's a lot of, like, cleaning up the past / rewriting history. She's got tapes that are like the original airings, not literal tapes, but recordings that aren't connected to the infosphere of, like, the original airings, and then there have been edits subsequently.
The Souljet cut.
Yeah, the Souljet cut. Then there were live interviews that you've seen multiple versions of, which also proves the interviewers are in on it. There's just a variety of kind of continuity maintenance edits have been made.
So is this looking more like money laundering or pyramid scheme or pump and dump, or what is the...
Yes.
What are we seeing in all of this?
So it seems like Drifters would make money if it were run honestly, interestingly enough. It doesn't seem to necessarily be scamming its viewers, except for all the scam products they promote. That is kind of a scam. And, murdering its participants. That's obviously...
Sure, other than the scamming, it's not really scammy.
But in terms of how they make money, like, where's if you follow the money, this thing is a money-making machine. It's used to create celebrities. It's used to, funnel and kind of legitimize think of it as have you ever heard the term sports washing?
Great.
I mean, we all here have, Kevin, but I'm sure some of our listeners have no idea what you're talking about. So.
Explain it for those
to them.
in the audience.
Yeah.
So is a tendency, for instance, with, let's say, the Saudi Live Tour, for those with a lot of money to kind of burnish their reputation by hosting the World Cup or
Winter
something
Olympics.
like that. Yep.
Right.
So it's using money as a political tool to legitimize yourself. And it's like if you're so
the
big,
crown jewel, if you will.
If you have an ad for the Super Bowl, well, then it must be legit, right, Matt Damon?
Right.
Wouldn't lie to us.
So it's like that, but galactic scale. So those people definitely get something out of it, and Drifters gets a ton of money. How does that factor into the murders? It's not clear that it does. The murders just seem to be kind of engineering the narrative arcs that Drifters is supposed to go through.
So there's no indication then that any of these previous teams, besides any of these previous teams, were clued into what was going on and they were taken out because they knew too much?
There is this one team that I should actually give you their name.
Team Lizard Brain, no.
No.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're there now.
Yeah.
What would be funny is if we find like a picture of this team, and it's a picture of all of them looking down at a photograph of another team.
There's like rain in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, we do know that we're not the
Or they
first
look like
team
us.
that she's
They've got an
tried.
Android
mustaches.
pilot. They've got a sphere.
Everything's
communications person.
rotated clockwise once,
Right.
which
So
is
they've
great.
got a telepathic vest, and then they've got a super strong hamster.
Yep.
And
it's really weird because their Skritic is Amu.
Right.
So it's like
but it's okay because their Amu is
spiky
Bob.
venomous coral monster.
So I've got a few team names here. Team redundant team name, but that was just last year, and they were rookie team that blew up.
Mhm.
There's Team We Love Spiders. There's Team Lunarcana. Those are all dead. So Lunarcana, yeah, sure. We'll say that that was the team from let's see here, 11
years ago. 11 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And
or 10 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
We're starting to see that maybe they started unraveling things.
Yeah, it seemed, you don't have evidence that they specifically were made an offer, but it definitely seemed like they were being pumped to become major celebrities and were everywhere. And then they died super suspiciously and kind of suddenly. And this was immediately after one of their members died in a it's recorded officially as like an illegal arms deal gone wrong, but that is just not what happened. Digging into the video footage and stuff like that, it is very similar to what happened with Zem the Witch Warper, where like everybody died due to infernal activity, like very suddenly, very gruesomely, and it doesn't line up with the story. That's actually another thing where they have edited the official records, but Rain's hard copies help you out.
Interesting.
So,
what kind
The
of
whole team
records
got on their
does Rain
motorcycles
have
and rode away into the night.
on Team Electrum?
Yeah, she's been following them a long time. She believes that they, like, it's clear from her notes and evidence that they are complicit and aware of what is happening, at least to some extent. and she considers them like the ultimate sellouts, but dangerous for sure. She has dossiers on every single member.
Interesting.
So is it like a Batman dossier of how to kill them the easiest?
I mean,
Because
um,
if it is, I'm going to memorize that.
you can definitely call upon this dossier for some sort of strategic advantage in dealings with them. If you are curious about if you have any questions about the crew, which I can remind you of who all is on Team Electrum if you want, the dossier might have answers.
I mean, does she think that
All
they're...
right,
Why
any
don't you remind us, for those of us who know, but the listeners at home might be.
Win Weasel is obviously the best because he's both the leader and his name is Win Weasel.
Yeah, Win Weasel, the uplifted Weasel mechanic ex-con, the Brick, a Vesk Vanguard bounty hunter, Steward Walker, a Lashunta soldier ex-undercover steward, Maite, a human female technomancer recovering from amnesia, Cryptex, an android operative assassin, and Augustus Slash, the human icon envoy.
Amnesia.
Yeah, it was all... We already figured out that was just a scam.
Was
Does she
there
look at all familiar?
That's just an arc.
Storyline.
Is there anything in the dossiers that indicate who Extreme Infosphere or Ian Soljet is having the most difficulty with? Like, who's their weakest point,
that's a
or
good
somebody
question.
that is disgruntled about the whole situation?
The Brick.
Right, because he hates
Brick,
that Win Weasel.
Yeah, the Brick and Win Weasel don't get along. The Brick was like a powerful vanguard, supposedly from the Vescarium Diplomatic Corps, which is our state-sponsored bounty hunters. The Brick is like notable in bounty hunter circles and has basically their own celebrity, so he doesn't need Team Electrum the way everybody else does. But Win Weasel is the boss of Team Electrum, and that doesn't sit well. So the two of them have clashed repeatedly.
Is his full name something like Duvid the Brick Jemison? Does he have like really, really striking eyebrows? I mean, he just sounds... He's
a
like
Vesk.
I
don't know.
Not so much eyebrows, but maybe like very striking
eye scales,
yes, exactly.
eye ridges.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe he's just really bad at basketball.
I think they named him the Brick because they are not very creative.
That hurts.
Wow. Another question might be, there are no doubt a number of conspiracy theory outlets, venues, orbit to orbit AM type shows that are out there. If any of this information that we have were presented, would people just blow it off as another conspiracy theory, or is there stuff in here that is so damning that people could not ignore it?
So the difference between what you guys have and what any old conspiracy, like some of this stuff might have even been on conspiracy channels before, but you have actual evidence. Like you have internal communiques and stuff like that. What you don't have is the final like smoking gun that says, and the person behind this all who knew it the whole time was Ian Soljet.
Don't we though?
Well,
we haven't parked at the Chainbreaker one yet. So
we have that video.
That's true. That's true. That's totally fair.
It doesn't connect it directly to drifters. It connects it to a hostile takeover with other financial improprieties within the Church of Abadar, though. But again, perhaps once we get through the Chainbreaker 1 data from our new AI friend.
But some of this is already out there. You said Like, would
Well,
it be
I
on
mean-
the like info Star Wars kind of crazy talk, or could somebody actually?
That's why I said
believe
like
it?
orbit to orbit AM is probably more.
I
popular.
like Orbit to Orbit AM a lot more. Let's not talk about the other one. Orbit to Orbit AM, that was good stuff. You ever listen to that?
Right.
Yeah,
up?
man.
I did.
Oh, heck yeah.
Anyway, the bottom line is, if you were to just dump this all on the infosphere and like put it where the media would find it, it would get coverage for sure. But without somebody helping it along, without you can tell from the corporate files you have, and just Quentin, this because it might have been your job for a period of time. There are people who will clean this up. It's a mess, and it won't be fun for them. But there are people who will shut those sites down, get the right people to denounce it. They will run a smear campaign against anyone promoting it, and they'll buy out people, that sort of thing. So there are powerful interests who will try to shut this down. So on its own, this would, it's hard to guess exactly what would happen, but this would be certainly a huge kind of, at least hard to, you have at least enough information here for it to be a persistent conspiracy theory that people don't drop right away. But you can also predict that there would be a lot of pushback.
We can't get it to Mr. Universe and broadcast it and bring down.
I know, Matthew. I made that exact point earlier tonight when I was talking strategy to Kevin. Is that I hate that movie, but we really do need can't stop the signal strategy.
Well, I'm afraid that it's going to end up with Hecubino screaming out of a police cruiser, "Hack the planet." But the question would be then, who is Ian Soljet's most powerful enemy?
Ooh, that is an interesting question.
True.
And he might have already killed them all, so.
Nobility.
I'm gonna be so sad if it turns out it's us.
I mean, so it probably. Yeah, so it's one of those weird things where his enemies are probably people you can't see. Like, would you have guessed that? Would you have guessed that Rain, a fairly, a not unreasonable description of which could have been a washed up ex-drifter, would be one of his more significant enemies? Because she was. You guys are certainly on that list, given the information you now have. He would certainly kill everyone on the ship if you're pretty confident that he doesn't know that you know everything you do, or you'd already be dead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that if we release this information, it would, the source of where this information comes from is just as important as the information itself. And so if it's coming from somebody that's super powerful, another god, another, corporation or something that can bring this out, then people are going to be more apt to believe that than
the Android Abolition Front,
Yeah, or the Android Abolition Front. I mean, even they can be easily dismissed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Or even coming from us, it's going to be easily dismissed. So I was just thinking, who is actively fighting, Ian Soljet and his corporate fronts?
There's a number of ideas that you could. Well, I have ideas, but before I put them in your brains, why don't you just you ask that question to the group, Bob? And does anybody have any thoughts as to who would be Ian Soljet's enemies, based off of what you currently know?
I mean, and if there are, again, he's killed most of the people at Avatar Corp already.
Right.
So
I think legitimate devotees of Avatar Corp.
Yeah. That was going to be what I was going to say too.
So that's an excellent thread, which is you can't just, the organization's too big, and, killing thousands of people would cause noteworthy upheaval. He has killed, tens of people,
Sure.
which is
Just
enough.
for the right people at the right time.
But what he's probably done is made a lot of people who were, let's say that some of those board members he killed. You can dig into their stories and find out it's like, oh, this person was the mentor of 12 mid-ranking, lieutenants within the Church of Abadar. They've all been reassigned, and none of them will probably get promoted anytime soon. And if any given one of them acts up, Ian Soljet will probably have them, made assistant to the assistant janitor at some prison planet somewhere. But he definitely has enemies within the Church of Abadar. You're quite confident of that based off of your faction analysis, Quentin.
So are there any other business types on his level?
Yeah, like some of these other rivals that he had assassinated, who again,
like a Nole scum kind of guy who wants to, I don't know, send cars into space or something. Who has, what? I thought we were anagramming. By the way, Kevin, I was saying in universe that they were, not that you weren't creative, because you are clearly creative. Please don't kill me. But nonetheless.
No, this is something you're familiar with, Quentin. Again, there are other very powerful corporations that are would love to see Abadar Corp get a black eye. Just the bad press of it alone would be great for them. But let's see here. Some noteworthy ones. Sometimes these are, by the way, not all good groups on their own.
But Fahey, who runs that. What?
So the Aspis Consortium.
Oh, sure.
There's also a group called the Tetrad, which is a Witchweird trade association.
Oh, hey, maybe we could go talk back to what's his name? He was cool. If weird. So the Witchweird who ran the market. Oh God, what was his name?
Yes.
Whose name?
Baracus.
Yeah.
Yes. Bring us Baracus.
Bootlegger.
Yes, him. We like him.
Baracus. Yeah, that's totally possible. The Aspis Consortium doesn't have a good reputation, but they would if there was a credit or two in it, they'd probably stab Abadar Corp in the back.
Any chance we can get all these people to team up and work together?
Sandoval Spaceflight Systems is a starship manufacturing and aerospace company that competes directly with Abadar Corp, in the realms that they participate in, and they don't seem unreasonable. Like they're as good or bad as other corporations in this world, as opposed to one is
corrupt to the core.
Yeah.
So I got a, I guess, sort of a setting question. Is there a law high enough to actually put Ian Soljet away as basically the head of a major church of a god that actually exists in universe?
It would be he has broken many laws, but his influence is so high that it would be challenging to prosecute him. But that's going to stay true forever unless his influence gets undermined. Right. It's not impossible to prosecute religious figures, but it does take someone. he will have a legion of fans of his, weekly program who will have his back. So it's going to take people who are disciplined and motivated and pretty courageous to try to prosecute him.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
but if we
can-
take away his power, though, right? If we can diminish his power, that weakens him overall.
How do you mean power?
Well, if we just
Influence,
put a black eye on his
tarnish
reputation.
reputation.
Yeah.
I mean, he clearly has some sort of I don't know, deific energy.
I can't imagine our efforts, and maybe it's just me, but being more than an opening salvo.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's like if we get this information to everyone that Eon Soljet hates, and who hates him back, we literally get this to every member of the church that we've identified as hating him, and we send it to Aspis, and we send it to the Tetrad, and we send it to everybody,
just pirate radio stations.
I mean, the families of the people he's
Yeah,
murdered.
I mean exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people who will be understandably upset about this, like people who bet on these races that were totally rigged.
A lot of the time when you get whistleblowers in the real world, they end up contacting every newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that if one newspaper is under there,
Sam makes a good point, though, because I think the way to get this talked about is to get Drifters fans involved, to get the fans to, start being absolutely horrified at the idea that someone has corrupted their beloved Drifters.
We can turn it into an RNG. Wait, no, what's it called? ARG?
Yeah.
An ARG. We could turn it into
that's fairly clever. Now that you think about it, you could be like, there's going to be an announcement and have it on so there's this plays into some things you're familiar with, Quentin, where it's well, in theory, strategically, you kind of want to release the information everywhere all at once at the same time, and you want the biggest microphone you could possibly have to do it, because that's going to make, if you released it to one place, it'll be shut down, and you'll have given away your element of surprise, and you'll have given basically all the Abadar, infosphere spider people who work for Eon Soljet plenty of time to get their ducks in a row and get their message upright and start paying people off. So you want to announce it all at once, but that for things to go, you're basically an expert at how to make things go viral, and
despite those bad rolls in the first race.
And some amount of pre-game work, some laying of a foundation is actually important, where it's you start a whisper campaign that's kind of what is the Matrix, where it's people don't even know what you're going to talk about yet.
Did we, and I ask this knowing that I should know this, so please forgive me, did we feel when we saw him interacting with the giant being in the sky who looked sickly and horrible, do we feel again, I'm not entirely sure how the God wheel works in this particular reality. Do we feel like Abadar is complicit in this, or is Soljet somehow?
He does not seem complicit. He seems that Eon Soljet has taken him for a ride.
Is there any possible way to, if not engage Abadar himself, to maybe engage his enemies if it feels like he's in on it, or maybe allies? It's hey, who does he hang out with? I don't know. Ted, the god of hairspray, or Taldor. I don't know.
Sure. Okay. So let me answer that by providing some just kind of basic information about the setting. Okay. And then you can draw your own inferences from that. Okay. My opinion about the setting is that gods themselves are relatively distant. They occasionally work kind of great miracles, and those are known. For instance, the god Triune, the god of like artificial intelligence, released the schematics for how to make drift drives, and everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, this changes everything." But like that's how a god communicates is something like that, and that's rare, very rare. In general, if a god wants to take action, kind of quote unquote directly in the world, it's done through their followers.
So just as Souljet has done, essentially.
Well, let's say Hecubino, you could make a mysticism check that would tell you that could go. You're not sure the directionality of it, right? Because there's nothing. All you see is someone working. All you see in this real world is the followers of a god doing what they're doing. Does that mean that they're influencing their god? Does it mean their god is influencing them? That's a question for you guys / theologists. Whatever.
Chicken, egg. Can Abadar make a gold piece so big that he himself cannot lift it?
But I will say the idea of like going to another god and being like, "Hey God, what's up?" That's not something people can typically do.
Okay, so there's not like a channel for that.
You could go talk to the faithful of other religions and say, "Hey, this religion's really messed up."
Right, that's like the long game. That's like if we're planning on living in this. And I only mention this in the spirit of balance, but have we considered how we feel about just taking his offer and living happy, rich lives?
Absolutely not. Also, he has already made it clear that he will sell out whoever takes the deal for whoever the next shiny toy is next time they, look shiny.
Yep. We gotta talk about it and get some votes in, but it seems pretty bad to me. I don't want to live in the gilded cage.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Vengi's assessment that we can't trust someone who betrayed everyone to get where he is, especially our level to his level.
Yeah, this is the last time we're ever going to have the jump on him.
Yeah.
If we start working for him, we probably will never have that again.
I still think we need to gather this information and we need to hand deliver copies to everybody that we've been talking about. The opposing corporations, the Android Abolitionist Front, the people that he's murdered, their families, the people that have been screwed over in the corporations. Just deliver it all to all of them.
We don't have enough hands for that. There are too many people.
We have the Android Abolitionist Front that can definitely do the footwork while we're busy causing a distraction.
Well, let's talk to the Android Abolitionist Front and see what we got from the bug we planted and if there's anything more useful there.
Sure.
I feel like that will tip our hand.
How?
3 people can keep a secret only when 2 of them are dead. The more people know what we know.
Tell them to wait for the signal.
We can also put drops out to have that go out when it, at a timed moment.
Yeah. What we have is the element of surprise. We can get this information to everyone that needs to get it, and we can put it on a timer, and hopefully...
Yeah, at the very least, I think we need some kind of dead man switch.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Or it goes off, close to the middle of the race, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think we need to do it as part of the race. I think we need to keep it as close to the vest as possible. I also want to talk to what's his name's
family. The family, the telepathic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talos, yeah.
Yeah,
because his parents seem
yeah.
pretty good at getting places that they shouldn't in terms of information, and they'll probably be pretty concerned about the fact that there's a guy who totally would kill their kid.
Yeah, I'm all for getting them the information along with everybody else, but it all has to be simultaneous. If we tip our hand to anybody, like they are, like their main concern actually seems to be Talos. So if they think that they can create an advantage for him by ratting on us, then that's where we end up.
Fair enough.
Like I think we can trust the Android abolitionist front, obviously Amsala and her crew. But outside of that, I don't see anybody really going to bat for us unless it becomes such a clear, obvious thing that everybody already knows, and that's why we have to diffuse this. Not basically. First off, we have to encapsulate it in a way that's not going to be terribly confusing or open to interpretation. And then we have to send it out to everyone. And yes, the Android Abolitionist Front is probably the best ones to get into people's computers without them realizing. But yeah, this has to be done. This has to be timed, and definitely doing it during the race would be the best time to do it because. This is going to get a lot of publicity if we die, and probably still very much publicity if we don't.
Yeah, I would tell Quentin that he needs to start working on his Why So Serious viral marketing campaign that leads all of the Drifters fans to the information, and then we also need to make sure that copies are hand delivered, not through the infosphere, because that'll tip everybody off. That everything is hand delivered, and I agree with Skritic that the timer needs to be released at the same time so that everything triggers all at once.
Yes, but Bob, we don't have enough people to hand deliver all of these things.
We have the Android Abolitionist Front.
Still not enough people. It needs to go through the infosphere.
Yeah, that's still not enough people, and they don't have enough ships to go to every planet and space station that we need to cover with this. It has to go over the infosphere. It just has to happen simultaneously so that when they go back and try to race it, people will have copies already.
Yeah.
You could kind of split the difference on that and give some of Ian Soljet's most powerful enemies hard copies that are backups. That's like, oh, you did something totally bizarre and purged the infosphere of data from the last 15 minutes. Nope, not good enough. But you turning that over to a random mom and pop, probably not that useful.
No.
Turning it over to another major corporation that hosts their own powerful servers, or some insiders within the Church of Abadar, or possibly even Talos' parents, a small number of people having physical backups, not a bad idea.
Yeah, and then we tip everybody off to a info portal that has the information, and Quentin gets everybody revved up during the game to go and follow it through a bunch of social media links and challenges, and then at the time when we need to release it, everybody hits that at the same time. All the fans see the information, all the hard copy backups are in the corporate hands where they need to be, and I think we're in the clear. The only thing that we need to make sure is that either A, we're winning the race and we become untouchable, or B, we need to strike a deal that says you don't kill us and that's it. I think we have to go with option one. We become untouchable.
I don't think winning the race will make us untouchable.
Yeah, I think mostly we need to just get the message out and try to survive. And hopefully, when we get the message out, Team Electrum realizes that they've been sold out and they don't kill us first.
Can somebody talk to Brick? Is there a way to get to Brick?
I mean, we can probably talk to him during the race.
There probably is a way to talk to him.
But I don't know that we want to do it until it's too late.
Yeah. Have we been inside the Team Electrum's ship?
No, not inside of the ship, but we did hang out with them at that after party.
Yeah, like a club.
Yeah. Just so you know, Brick is also a veteran of Directive 9, a Vescarium spy network.
Oh, cool.
And they're typically fiercely loyal to the Empire. And then also a reminder about Brick has ritual tattoos to Demoratosh the Conqueror, a grim deity who teaches war and conquest are pillars of the universe, and everyone has a duty to propel one's community to victory.
What a good dude.
So, I mean, you still feel free to communicate with him, but that gives you a little bit more information about, he's a worshiper of the Grim Commander.
I mean, yeah, definitely someone you want, I guess, during the thick of things, somebody you want on your side and somebody that you want to plausibly deny afterwards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Team Electrum can be one of the groups that we get this information to, definitely, and we probably could do it over short range during the race, and it would be hard
to intercept
for
that.
them to block us that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's just as likely that they'll get that this will then they'll double down. But at least it puts it casts a question about their boss and what they're doing. And once you start betraying people, you start getting also more paranoid that you're going to be betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that's a thing. What else? Do we go talk to the androids?
Yeah, let's do that.
Unless you want to talk to Telos' parents first.
I think we're going to wait and talk to them until we're pulling the trigger on everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Docking port engaged.
Well, you get a welcome back from 203, aka Zoe. She likes what you did with your. Did you grow that?
Oh,
really?
This? Yeah. And Bob just peels it off. It was just glued on with spirit gum. And then he gets a rag out and he wipes the scar off his eye. Did you like that or no? I was trying something new.
I think maybe the monocle put it a little over the top. But
okay.
But pick one or two. Not the monocle though. I'm anti monocle, but I like the scar or the facial hair. But the scar's got to be earned, right? It's cool if you have an actual scar over your eye, just like you had it.
Depending on how things turn out, I mean, I might end up with more than one scar.
Right, but hopefully it looks cool. Is what I'm saying.
I hope so too.
She punches you in the shoulder.
Ow.
Hey, what'd you do to our ship?
Oh, we put a sail on to make it go zoom.
Right, and you evidently used that as target practice for all the bad guys to shoot you?
Yeah, somebody did.
It was quite the trip.
Okay.
You heard of Deep Angels?
Well,
they're incredible.
Oh yes.
Amazing. Oh, I heard that was just like a urban legend.
It definitely is not.
No.
They are very real.
I guess I mean galactic deep space legend, but
Yeah.
Oh,
they're cryptids.
How cryptic? Did they help you?
I mean, yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you made some friends.
I turn and look at Skritic.
They open their minds to all sorts of new ways.
Vangy nods.
Okay, well that's just creepy. So, what's the plan? We need to repair your ship.
Yes.
We would appreciate that.
Okay.
And then we need to find out the information that you have gotten from the from our little bug.
Yes. So, it's a little tricky how this has worked. Basically, communication has to be kept at an absolute minimum because that's how it can be discovered. So we're getting more like, well, are any of you programmers? It's kind of like getting the headers, which is enough to like compile against, but not the actual code. We're getting summaries of files. And when I say summaries, I don't mean like the way a person would summarize them. I mean like their file names, or like the file architecture, things like that. I can say I think we have personal finances, which is great. That's one of the things we were looking for. And I think we've also found, a lot of information about the kind of corporate Avatar Corp backing of Android Indenture. So I think so. How this will work from our side is when the time is right, we can ask our friend Chester and communicate with Bug to send over everything they've got. It'll be kind of a burst of data, and it's fairly likely that they're going to disconnect the network entirely once that happens. So right now, what we're doing is basically getting what we want to be part of that data burst.
We may have something that will cause a major distraction. Away from those files.
Okay.
I look at Hikibino.
Well, but we also want this to be public, right?
Yeah.
I know we do.
But you said the minute that they see that you're trying to grab data, they're going to be shutting you down. But if they were preoccupied with something else, maybe that would give you more time to get the data that you need.
Oh, okay.
But then you should be prepared to also be broadcasting it through many, many, many venues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, it's kind of funny because I'm not nearly as expert in the ways of media as all of you are, but some of the Triune devotees who wrote this up, they're very clever when it comes to computers, and so it will be hard to get rid of this once we have it.
Great. Well,
we can write kind of worms that travel the infosphere and are all but unkillable.
Well, then maybe we should be coordinating because we have some things that also really are going to be aggressively squished if they're once they're out.
Oh, well, yeah. Let's coordinate. What do you got?
All right. Hecubino will set up a small screen and then be like, all right, slide one, Eon Soljet, right? And then basically slowly go through, try to organize chronologically everything that we found, along with the corroborating information, times where deaths can be seen to, obviously be written off, but then have data that is actually it's this person supposedly died in a tragic shaving accident, but in fact they were sucked into a demon vortex. Here's the concierge service camera to prove it. And just kind of go step by step, try to organize it so that it tells a story of greed and betrayal.
Don't forget
Nice.
corruption.
And corruption. Yeah, this is what I'm putting out there for the cyborgs or for the androids is definitely the first draft of the narrative. Like I don't want to make everything a presentation, but I want it to be presented in such a way that when you go from A to B to C to D, you can see like that there's a clear pathway.
So at first you have Zoe watching, and then as you start going through the presentation, a few of the nearby deckhands who were starting to assess the squeaky clean for repairs, they kind of start hovering nearby, and then at the end of Hecubino's presentation, there's like 24 people, all like they're sitting on the floor of the Docker hangar bay to so that they're not getting in the way, so that everybody can see him. Everybody like in rapt attention.
Nice. I'm definitely just like hanging on to a marker that isn't actually connected to anything, but I'm counting on Quentin to go to the next slide every time I click on it.
You
Totally
visibly
works
click it
every time.
Often
totally works.
probably having him have to like rearrange the slide so that whatever I'm talking about actually is next.
Next slide. Clearly, the next slide will be this. And Quentin's like, yep, okay.
So just an outside thing, you do know that like the TED Talk stuff, their clickers don't actually advance the slides. It actually just lights up a light to people who are
Handling
running
it.
the slideshow, and they're the ones that actually change to the next slide.
Perfect.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way to do it.
Yep. Always have the Quentin.
That's great. So when you start wrapping up, do you leave it kind of open-ended, and it's like, so like, are you looking for feedback, or is it like, does it end on a certain note?
Yeah, I'll definitely lead into Q&A and
Nice.
and thoughts. So it's like it probably does end open-ended. Like, this is all that's happened up until now, and then we'll say like, we want to release this information close to the end of the next race, and yeah, we need a way to do it. We need sort of logistics help, because obviously the 6 of us can't
We're going to be kind of
get all that
preoccupied.
accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course the androids have there's a fair bit of questions, and Zoe will also point out, it's like, yeah, and we have the evidence, where she'll kind of clicker through her way through what they believe they have on Android indenture, which is also kind of a major scandal of its own right. Like, it's kind of one of those things people are dimly aware of, but you wouldn't be surprised if people thought that was illegal and not happening. And they say they have an android friend.
Like experimenting on puppies.
Right. Yeah. So there's, plus, there's a bevy of other corporate crimes that you've got a decent amount of evidence on. Do you show the video? That's one question I have. Do you show that one special video?
I'll probably do a content warning beforehand, and I'll probably stop it right as flesh is being
things get really bad.
Yeah, but I have that. Hecubino has that theatrical sense, so it's like he'll let the first squish noise happen before he stops it.
So yeah, you get a lot of questions and feedback, and it's actually pretty helpful. The Q&A goes for like an hour. Well, I mean, these are people who are a little bit more politically motivated than your average Joe. But one thing is they find it believable. Like you may have worried like, oh, is this just going to come across as a conspiracy theory? To them, they're like, nope, that sounds like the world we live in. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Yeah, and it's probably going to resonate with a lot of other people too, because you don't get to be a galactic quadrillionaire without stepping on people.
A lot of people have been stepped on.
A lot of people have been stepped on, and they're silent because they don't know about other people that have been stepped on. But if you get them talking,
yep, I dig it. Good work. You have the Android abolitionist front. I think, assuming you guys are taking the attitude of these guys are pretty trusted allies, which that seems to be what you're doing, they are happy to. They won't get into all of like the exact details of how their stuff works, but they can basically tell you that they have kind of unsquishable infosphere worms that, again, it's not going to like take over the infosphere, but it can't be removed. It like self-perpetuates. So that's something that they can do to help. They also have small cells in various other sectors of the galaxy that can function as like rebroadcasters and like help lay groundwork on some of this stuff.
Yeah, and I think we'll rely on them for the hard copies. Like basically be like, okay, let's make 100 hard copies and get this to the top 100 I hate Eon Soldier list.
Yep.
Wait, hang on. The top 100 I have some sort of leverage and I hate Eon Soldier list because I'm sure lots of people super hate it and can't do anything about it.
And we should also like get it to as many as our fans as we can. So, and especially with Quentin's priming, because they're the ones that'll be more likely to listen.
Yeah.
So another thing they can do is they can set up a really secure, basically infosphere server for you, where you can even like set up like timers and stuff like that, and you can spread the links as much as you want, but without really extreme measures, this won't be taken down. And they will say that they've noticed that actually, you know what? No, Quentin, that from previous Drifters things and just other campaigns, social campaigns you've seen, this wouldn't be unreasonable for you guys to set up if you were just trying to win this finale of Drifters. If you like had something timed where all of your fans did something super cool at the same time during the race, like that's a legitimate Drifters strategy. So having a secret website, that's
that wouldn't even raise any flags
for you guys to do. Yeah. Except this one will be like surprisingly difficult, like encrypted, hard to hack and hard to take down.
More than just a flash mob.
Yeah. But it can give that flash mob, a place to go.
Yeah.
And give them all worms.
Yeah.
Yep. Unsquishable worms.
Definitely, Hecubino is definitely looking forward to the part where he can stop talking about horrible deeds, and switch over to like, okay, what sort of graphics are we going to use to promote this? Like, definitely something we need to have is like this thing where like you hold up the number 4, and then you turn it down so your fingers are pointing down, and then you wiggle them, and that means for rain.
Oh. Actually, yeah, that's both a clever idea in its own right, and would also get
Yeah, because as far as we know, this is just like a vet, or as far as everybody knows, this is just a vet from the circuit that got, that OD'd, which is something that happens,
yep.
but we were his, her proteges, so there's no reason for us not to do that too, right? So yeah,
makes perfect sense.
And yeah, we should also like get in, talk with some of like the people we've dealt with who have pretty big followings, like and subscribe, to get that signal boosted.
Oh, that's a good.
We can like offer her some kind of like exclusive preview. All right. Well, I think we got something of a plan. We should also get our ship as fixed up as possible and make sure it's like scanned as much as possible for any other booby traps that they're stucking on it with, secret missile launchers or, I don't know, missiles come here things.
Yes, Zoe will coordinate with you on this, Bob, but she has some thoughts, which is basically there's probably only so many places they can put things. What are they going to do? They're going to maybe attach extra thrusters, attach extra weapons, those sorts of things. And she's thinking, what if we are one step ahead of them, where we basically build in detachable armor plates on the Squeaky Clean, such that when you actually start racing with the Squeaky Clean, you have some sort of control that they don't know about, that we give you, that detaches those plates and maybe detaches whatever they've connected to the ship.
That's cool.
Oh, I like that.
Oh.
Yeah, to build some system redundancy, so that if they're like, they've got their hands on the mazer or whatever, we can turn it off and then go through another channel to turn it back on.
That's sweet.
And Bob, now you have a very good sense of the Squeaky Clean as well. Like after all the time you spent aboard and fixing every last system in this, it is. The Squeaky Clean is the ship of Theseus at this point. But you think, I mean, you can always be wrong. You can always fail a check or whatever, but you have a good kind of second sense for, hey, something isn't quite right. And once Zoe notices that, they start intentionally kind of messing with you a little bit to see if you notice, and it's kind of good training as well.
Okay, I'll catch him and I'll shake my figure each time. You almost got me there. Good one.
Yeah, they ran the reactor straight into the microwave.
You guys always kidding around, but
Critic's burrito just exploded.
Please keep this in mind. It's our lives.
That's the only way the space outs become edible, though. Like actually have some sort of like decent flavor, is you have to at least slightly irradiate them.
Oh, yeah.
They turn from that green color to a nice golden.
Yeah, they kind of they pop like hot dogs.
Yeah, they're slightly melty.
They're kind of chewy and moist and melty, like almost like a cheese curd.
Yeah, you could sell them. You could sell them as food, but you'd have to use the tagline "They scream when you cook them," because they literally go. Ah!
Oh God!
It's terrible, but it's cool.
Technically, a food product.
That's right. In no way not edible.
At one point, Amu, you notice that one of like the there's like a moving container crate full of repair stuff that has scuttled up next to
you. We'll feed Herman a little bit.
Aw.
What does Herman eat other than pirates?
No, we kept some pirate in the freezer for him.
Freeze-dried pirate.
Herman is pretty omnivorous.
Yeah, crabs are. I mean, he's like crab-like, so crabs are scavengers. So I'm guessing him and Amu actually probably eat similar things.
Whatever random biomass Amu has on them at the time. Sometimes Amu.
Like a future equivalent of blue buffalo. It's like
that's how we got him in the first place, was by feeding him.
I forgot that was true.
Actually, the ship has these vent toilets that need to be cleaned, and you guys never no one on the ship has ever cleaned them. It turns out Amu's been cleaning them and just feeding them all your dead skin and scales too.
Fantastic.
He's got a taste for humans. Run.
What do we care?
Yeah, you guys. I'm the only one that has to run if he gets a taste.
Yeah, but he's
for
also got a taste for Vesk and possibly for android oils.
Yeah.
He can have all the oil he wants.
Reasonably certain he ate at least a couple of those when the menagerie defended the ship during Quentin's hideout.
If we're worried about Herman getting a taste for something, we're
way too late.
We're way past it. Yeah,
we should have killed him 20 episodes ago if we were worried.
I mean, I wasn't expecting you to take the grapefeed as a pet, but
I don't
here
know
we
why
are.
you weren't.
You apparently never ran a game for Rob before.
Why fight something when you can make friends with it?
All right. It sounds like you guys have a plan. So you will soon be receiving a message letting you know that before the race, you have hours worth of pregame interviews, analysis, commercials, commentary that you're obligated to perform.
Of course we do.
Sure.
Yep, we have to do our testimonials.
Good. Yeah, we'll roll out the heel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Is someone coaching Amu on that front?
Just repeat after me, Amu. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Brother.
Sibling.
Say it. All right. What you gonna do, sibling? When the Amu train subdivides on you.
The Amu train subdivides on you?
Just show off your collection of medical instruments and put that to use them on people.
Ooh,
we can do
yes. And describe them in great
and what they
detail.
do to a body.
You know,
this is for piercing the eye.
You know how you've been practicing making a humanoid face
Mm-hmm.
to talk?
Just
do that. Do exactly that.
Say exactly what you would normally say, but say it in this voice. We are happy to be here.
We are happy to be here.
We love humans. This is my friend who eats humans.
I think he's gonna scare people more than
we're heels.
Get them on our side.
We're heels.
This is for the pregame stuff.
Yeah.
It's
all right.
We're doing a heel
we'll cover
face
for you
if you the race. So
fantastic. All right, and that is where we will leave off for this time.
All right. It sounds like we know what's happening next time, and man, I can't wait to see this thing play out. See who lives, see who dies. Oh, it's going to be epic, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around. Let's start seeing those rain hand signs flashing up all over the socials. You know what to do for rain, everybody. And also, here's hoping all of your dice rolls are critical hits.
This podcast is copyright 2022 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.
It's true that some things change as we get older. But if you're a woman over 40 and you're dealing with insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, and weight gain, you don't have to accept it as just another part of aging. And with MIDI Health, you can get help and stop pushing through it alone. The experts at MIDI understand that all these symptoms can be connected to the hormonal changes that happen around menopause. And MIDI can help you feel more like yourself again. Many healthcare providers aren't trained to treat or even recognize menopause symptoms. MIDI clinicians are menopause experts. They're dedicated to providing safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions for dozens of hormonal symptoms, not just hot flashes. Most importantly, they're covered by insurance. 91% of MIDI patients get relief from symptoms within just 2 months. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.